Mike, I know you mentioned it last week, but before we get into the whole game and each individual player, I just wanted to, as a coach, what Trey did that last day really mean to you as a coach and for the program and being able to kind of come back from what he was dealing with 24 hours earlier?
Well, that's what we always talk about. That's athletics. That's competing. That's putting the past, the adversity from the day before, the stress that he had of not being able to play. He wanted to play, but he knew that he couldn't of the bug he had. He sat inside all day, hydrated. Came out the next day, had a good look to him, looked a lot better, and then obviously went and took care of business. The energy he brought was huge. But Trey's a good player. He's only a sophomore, and he's had some good finishes. We know he's good, and that meant a lot. The first person out when you play team golf, the first person in the rotation is a big deal. It sets the tone. Momentum is big in team golf. People don't really probably think it is because you just go out and play golf, individual sport. But in team golf, that first guy going out, if he makes a couple putts early and gets some momentum going, it kind of spreads.
Mike, sometimes with golf, maybe we don't talk about toughness or being physically tough or whatever. But when you're sick and you're dealing with food poisoning and you're trying to play at a high level, just how hard is that for him to do what he did and be able to kind of overcome that?
You'd have to ask him, but
Right.
I think it was hard. But again, he's young, he's learning. It probably never happened to him before.
Sure.
There's an adage though: beware of the sick golfer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's amazing when you're sick, you don't feel well. The last thing you're worried about is making a bogey. You're just trying to stay healthy. So, I think when you're sick, and even in his case, getting better, you appreciate getting better. And you're in a better mood. When you're on the way to recovery. But, golf is it's you're out there walking. You're walking 7 miles. You're playing under some pressure, some intensity. There's more physical requirements in the game than people think. When you're going through a golf shot, it's only for 1 second, but the force it puts on your body to swing like these kids do is it's pretty demanding. And so when you have you're off a little bit, and your strength is off, and your equilibrium's off a little bit, it messes the precision of your golf swing up and causes that problem. And Dane was sick earlier in the year out in Oregon. He played 3 rounds sick because during the regular season you can't substitute.
Right.
So he was out there like a sick dog for 3 days, and he played terrible. He saw that firsthand that you can try to play as much as you can, but when you're let off in golf, you're off.
Do you think the response in that strong last round can carry over into regionals?
That's the plan. That's the plan. We've talked at length about that. That's what we've been trying to say all year long. That's how you play golf every day. That's how you show up to practice every day. That's how you show up to a regular tournament or a championship. You show up with intensity and focus. It's a sport. You compete. So many young players, junior golfers, they've grown up to play the game of golf. If they go out and they play good, hey, I played good. If you go out and play bad, I played bad. There'll always be tomorrow. I understand that from maybe a common sense point of view, but to be an athlete in this sport, you have to go out and impose your will on the golf course and on what's going on. You have to put pressure on the golf course. You can't just go out and just be a product of what happens. And I think that's what our team does sometimes is we go out and if things don't go well, they kind of get a little, feeling sorry for themselves and they get a little think about the past and oh my gosh, what are people gonna think? Letting my team down. You can't do that. You gotta be scratching and clawing for everything you do. And that has to be a habit of a way of life. When you go to class, I think, when you go to work, when you go to practice, there's got to be that edge to yourself to bring. And that last round, as I mentioned earlier to some guys, we were chasing for the first time in a long time. We've been protecting Big Ten championships too long. We've been at the top and winning all those wins, but you still got to chase them even though you're in the lead. It's kind of a hard concept to understand, but we chased that last round, and it's a lot more fun. They said every one of them to a T said that's the more fun they've had playing golf in their life. We didn't win. We were 15 back. Really, very little small chance of winning because the conditions weren't beneficial to a great comeback. But they learned a lot that you have to play with that energy, that intensity, that excitement to go chase something down. You still have to do that within the league. So hopefully they've learned that and we can apply some of that to the next tournament.
How does momentum work in team golf, Mike? Like it felt like on that last day that Trey gets off to the start that he got, and then all of the other 4 guys kind of built off of what that start was.
Well, we could sit down and talk about it for a half an hour, how it works, but it's definitely there in team golf. That's what makes team golf fun if you're there watching it in person with it, because the first person out is a big deal. When you have 5 guys going off right in order, the first guy goes out and hits a ball out of bounds on the first tee, or makes bogey right in front of the rest of the guys. It's kind of a deflating thing. If the first guy goes out and he's playing okay, but he's walking with his head down, he's kind of going through the motions, he's kind of feeling sorry for a bad shot he hit, or he's worried. Guys feel that energy. The first guy out has to really portray and really come from a position of strength. When that happens, it builds other guys. It's no different than a guy getting hot in basketball. He makes a couple shots, the rest of the team kind of feels that vibe a little bit too. Or if you got a good defensive player and he has a couple good defensive stops, it brings the team up. Team golf feels that. You're not playing with the player, but you see him across the fairway from adjacent holes, and coaches can spread that energy. It's a big deal. Anything in life, if you feel good about yourself, and you got some optimism, and you're a little hop on your step, and you're approaching things, like I said, from the positive side of the spectrum, it spreads in the office, in society. If you're down and negative and you're bummed out, and things don't feel good, or you're worried about stuff, that spreads too. So golf is no different than any other sport. You're tied to like this energy, this bond, that it's very necessary. You have to have it. And that's why I think teams in the past where we've maybe played above our pay grade is because we've had that. This team is young, different people from different walks of life around the world, different cultures. It's been hard to bring that together. It's been hard to this year and last year to understand that. Hopefully the last round of Big Tens will show them straight up that needs to be done.
Thanks to Danny, we know you're only one of the guys more regional titles than you. Gets your title. How important is that to you? I mean, not personally, for the team, when they're rich.
Well, if you win a regional title, or it just shows you're playing pretty good, getting to the finals, and you're playing good at the end of the year, and that's what you really want to do. Golf, the regular season's long. It's the fall and the spring. The whole purpose of that is to get better and to improve, in my point, in my frame of mind, in my impression, but it's also to lay a foundation, get your team ranking where you want it to be so you can make the postseason.
Sure.
You don't want to schedule too hard, you don't want to schedule too soft. You've got to schedule just about right so your team can make the postseason, but get better along the same way. And then once they get into regionals, then the gloves are off. Then you're playing for real. You're playing for legacy, you're playing for history, you're playing for championships. The regionals, if you play good at regionals, that means you've gotten better.
Okay.
And I think that's a big thing. You don't want to, that doesn't happen all the time. There's been great teams. There's been number 1 seeds don't make it through regionals. There's been number 1 teams in the country don't do it. It's hard. Golf is hard to have everybody time up and play their best at the right time. That's why I believe our strategy is to hit your standard, establish your standard high enough so you just go to regionals and hit your standard if it's good enough to win. So that tells you how the season's gone and how the guys have gotten better, but it's a big deal for me because this is what people remember. This is what the kids come here to do.
I want to ask about Ryan and his journey here since we've been all the way out here. I mean, what's it been like to see him progress over 4 years?
Like the other guys that come here, and you want them to get better. They come as young, squeaky, clean, innocent little people that don't understand what big, competitive, smash mouth golf is. They come from junior golf, and they come from a protected, insulated world, if you will. But really, if they play bad, there's no there's no consequence. They just go to the next tournament and have fun. And if they play good, great. If they play bad, they do the same thing over again. Well, in the major college sports, they learn very quickly that there's responsibility and there's ownership in this thing. And I think he's seen that. I think he's grown with that, like everybody else has. And it prepares you for the real world, if it's in golf or not. And I think that's what this is all about. And he's ready for the next step, whether it's professional golf or whatever he wants to do in his life. He's developed good habits. He's a very disciplined person. He never had been one where you had to get him disciplined. But he's grown as a player too. He's very regimented, very static, very calculated in the way he does things. He's very smart. I think he's learned to be more of a player, have more feel for the game, which is I like to see as a coach. But again, he went from 1600th as a freshman to 40th in the world as a senior. That's the plan for all our players, hopefully.
And coach, this program knows how to do it. It's been a very successful program, and this team in particular has shown some great flashes. The third on the Big Ten all season. What do you think maybe is like the key to just putting it all together in the regionals and actually pushing it to the next level?
Yeah, staying in the present, staying in the moment. When things go bad, we just mentioned, I mentioned to my assistants in passing and just in fun, this team seems like everything's great until something hits the fan. And then sometimes you don't handle it very well. They don't handle the adversity, they don't handle a bogey. Sometimes a bogey leads to another bogey. Sometimes a bad shot leads to another bad shot or two. They need to be able to stop that, put that behind them. It's hard. It's in life. Bad things happen all the time. You got to move on from it and forget about it and have a short memory. That's a key. I think technically we're getting better. I think probably not to where we want to be yet. Everybody's games ebb and flow, and golf is such a technical sport. You got to be technically solid. I think there we're closer than we have been. We've still got some room to go, but mentally, if we can just stay in the present and compete and stay positive and optimistic and not get so down, it's no different than another athlete, a basketball, football player making a bad play. A defensive back in football makes a bad play, it gets burned on an out pattern, and the crowd can't believe how burned he got. The guy's coming at you again 30 seconds later. You got to get your mind back in it. That defensive back has somebody else making him do it. He's zoned back into it, because if he doesn't, the guy's going to score another one. In golf, you got to get back into the zone yourself. That's what's hard. There's no outside stimulus that says, okay, I got to get back into it. I got to get back into the right frame of mind. You have to do it yourself. That's what our problem is. We need to get that ourselves rebooted quicker than we have and stay in the present.
And can you maybe give us a glimpse into what you and the coaching staff have been doing behind the scenes to maybe just push that being in the zone mentality into?
Well, you just beat on them every day about it. You just keep reminding them every day about it, and you break them down a little bit and build them up a little more, and break them down a little bit and build them up a little more, and you try to build that confidence and teach them to have self-accountability. But you got to make them aware of things too. You just can't pass it off. You can't be so positive as a coach where they never get the point. But you got to be direct and straightforward about some things individually. In golf, you do it more as an individual thing. You do it in front of a team at times, and then you demand and expect them to take accountability and ownership for it. And as a coach, you can't be afraid of confrontation. You can't be afraid of bringing things up, being honest. And you trust and hope that they see that and they embrace that, and they take responsibility and fix it. Again, they're out there on themselves. I can't substitute during a round. I can't put them on the bench for 5 seconds or 5 minutes and say, okay, regroup and get back in. You have to teach them that stuff here. And they have to have the courage and the maturity and the stability to do it themselves. So as a coach, your hands are kind of tied this time of year. I've said it before, you're the haze in the barn type of thing. You've done this all year. Now you just got to trust them and go out and just keep them on point that they have to go do it.
I feel like this regional field where you have the number 1 player in the country, the number 1 team in the country, 3 SEC teams in the top 5, but you're ranked 12th, but this team has a motivating carrot in front of them to go, hey, we're pretty good too. And I think there's guys like Max and Ryan that go, I'm pretty good. Max is good buddies with Jackson Coven and has beat him in a U.S. amateur. Like, I'm as good as him. Like, it seems like that would be the kind of mentality you guys want, is that, yeah, you guys go ahead and focus on them, but we're just as good.
I hope so. I hope that's what they're thinking.
Right.
That's what they should be thinking.
Right.
It is a sport. It is competition. We're out there to, there's got to be some selfishness. There's got to be some ego. There's got to be some grit and grind out there, and hopefully that's there when good teams have it. Again, this is not a pastime or a hobby. This is a major professional collegiate now, professional for them in the future sport. You got to bring it and put it all on the line, and then move on to the next one.